When I say Mavericks on the, you say move. Mavericks on the move. Mavericks on the move. Welcome to Mavericks on the Move. My name is Jamilah Corbitt. I'm the creator and host of Mavericks on the Move, a place where professionals foster symbiotic partnerships through conversation and purposeful networking. Welcome to our first episode of 2020. Today, we're discussing your 2020 vision and strategy so you can crush it this year. Stay tuned. Visit mavericksonthemove.com to catch up on the latest episodes, stay up to date, browse pictures from past events, and to grab your signature merch. As the digital landscape continues to transform how companies build and cultivate relationships with potential customers, we want to make sure you're armed with the strategy to move forward and compete in today's competitive economy. My guest today is a video marketing strategist that's going to share tips on how you can visually execute your 2020 vision that attracts more customers into your business. Please help me welcome to the stage, Weston Trussell. Happy decade, Weston.
Yeah, no kidding. Happy New Year and Happy New Decade. It's amazing how time flies.
It does fly. So, Weston, I'm really curious about your expertise and how you created your own company and you're a video marketing strategist, and how do you help businesses?
Yeah, good question. And, what's interesting is that, like a lot of entrepreneurs out there, it was one of these things where it was rather serendipitous because I learned a lot along the way, but learned a lot from what I saw happening in the world around me and what the needs were for expertise in video development. I come from a background in video. I mean, I spent my entire career, which now has been 14 years, in video production, everything from video editing to videography, producing, even narrating and script writing. And, when I started my own business, Weston Trussell Creative, about 3 to 4 years ago, what I wanted to do was create a business that was out there kind of answering people's questions when it came to video, which was, how do I get started in this? And how do I get access to it? Because video is one of those things that can be kind of a daunting task, I mean, you know how it is. Like, you make videos yourself.
Yeah, and it's still a struggle every single day.
Right, and I'm sure you...
And no one knows, though, but no one knows.
Yes, no one knows. There's no, secret sauce to get it perfect. Everyone's got to, identify, what's their right strategy. What I find is that actually the best kind of videos are those where you're really listening to what people are trying to achieve, and then you create a strategy that works for those people specifically, as opposed to preconceived notions of what you think a video should be.
We know the digital landscape is transforming the way customers connect with businesses and building relationships, and video is one of those ways where it's really easy to build the know, like, and trust factor with your audience, because you come across, most of the time, some people are not authentic, but most of the times you come across as yourself and authentic. So can you speak on why it's important to incorporate video into your marketing strategy for 2020 and beyond?
For 2020 specifically too, one of the things that we're really looking at as both, video developers and video marketers is the trends in which people are actually consuming video. And, across the board, you see people using video more and more on social media, on their websites. People, watch times are going up across the board. And one of the terms I like to use, which is like an active phrase I use, is called video communications. And the reason why I like to use that term is because really when people think about me as a video producer, video marketer, they're really thinking about video in the most quintessential marketing sense. It's a promotional video, it's a marketing video, you're going to make, a talking head video or, a animation video. That's all good and swell, but I actually really want people in 2020 to be focusing more on the organic usage of video in communications, because really video is how you're going to be talking to people. And I'll just put it to you this way. Video is like a digital analog to the natural experience you and I are having. I mean, we're having a conversation. I'm reading cues from you, not just in what you're saying, but your body language. And we're listening to each other, and we're building a sort of familiarity here, right? And, when you and I first met, I mean, we really hit it off in terms of, our ability to be able to, really, synergistically be able to hit it off, talk about all sorts of things, and we have a mutual interest here with video. So what I try to tell people is that with you as a professional, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're in a sales force, or anything, who you are is really what sells your business. You figure in the digital realm where more and more first interactions are happening and we are being introduced to new businesses, new professionals, you have to figure that's a real disadvantage to not have your character come through in the digital realm. So video is how you're able to access that. And that's why I think people going into this new year, this new decade, need to reevaluate video, because what I'm trying to introduce people to is a new perspective on how to look at video.
Video creates that experience, and branding is it's not the fancy logo and website that you guys see. It's all about experiences, creating those experiences for people. And that's what video does. And I actually got my start in video, in building my influence, but specifically Periscope. Do you remember Periscope?
Oh yeah.
I love Periscope.
Oh, yeah.
Mainly because it was the live video aspect, and I was very good on live video, connecting with people, saying hi to people. When the comments would run up, I would interact with people that way. And what I found was I went from Periscope to Facebook, and then I tried to hop on YouTube, and I'm like, YouTube.
Tough nut to crack there.
It's tough because I had to pre-record my content. Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of people out there. Is there anyone out there that's still kind of shy in front of the camera? Yeah. A couple of people. And I know people are out there shy in front of the camera. And so what would you say to the business owner who's like, well, I want to try this video thing, but I hate talking to a camera. That was me. That's still me, but I get over it now.
Anytime I have that conversation with someone, and, to use real simple platitudes here, it's really about just being yourself. You can't go wrong with being yourself. Now, of course, my effort in working with anyone is to always try to get them to be themselves in front of the camera, because the dilemma that you face is that, I could be talking to anyone in a natural setting, and I really pick up their natural vibes. I really get the full sense of who they are. Once you get the camera going, the lights on, and you hit the record button, people could just freeze up. And I totally get it. I mean, mind you, I'm someone who, as a background characteristically, I'm actually an introvert myself. I was a shy kid. And
me too.
Right. And I like to tell people that, because I think it's important for people to know who may think of themselves as not being camera ready, that actually you are. You just need to be able to be the best version of yourself in front of the camera. And from a perspective point of view, I always tell people, if you have that self-criticism to not like the way you look on camera, or you're really hard on the statements that you give out, maybe you flub when you're giving an interview or you're trying to record a soundbite, that's okay. Actually, oddly enough, that is one of the most essential tools for self-improvement, is self-criticism. Because if you cannot self-criticize, you will not grow. And so if you feel like you're struggling, what I tell people to do is to start by actually keeping it simple, and don't even use your videos at first for the intended purpose of showing others. I'm
going to play the devil's advocate here, because I was this person as well. I used to cringe when I watched myself, like, even if I was critiquing myself, I would still cringe. I still cringe sometimes now. So how can we get over that initial, I don't want to see myself on camera. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound.
Absolutely. So I always look at it as you've got 2 points and you want to make them coalesce. So one, you've got the factor that we talked about, which is self-improvement, working on yourself. Now, of course, even for myself, like, I'm going to watch this later, I'm going to kind of cringe at myself and be like, oh gosh, do I really look and sound like that? Oh God, everybody does that.
I do this all the time when I'm editing the footage.
Really, what I'm going at with all that is that there's a self-improvement aspect that you work on, but of course, there's another important factor, which most people will not talk about, but it's extremely important that we touch on it, because it's realistic and it's going to help you in the end if you identify it, which is, it's almost like a self-love aspect, which is to accept yourself.
Ooh.
So
pause.
I know, big words, right? Big concepts.
Pause. That, you said a mouthful right there.
That was a whole decade's worth of words right there.
Yes, we can stop the show right now. We're done.
All right, we'll be back in, was it 2030 to conclude this? All right.
Yeah. No, self-love. You're absolutely right. Expand on that.
Yeah, so, self-love is something that anybody should have anyway, and we all deal with insecurities and things that we're trying to overcome. And I know we're talking at a granular level about video, but actually this is just something holistically that's going to help anyone, which is that as you're working on that self-improvement and you've got a trajectory in terms of improving your ability to perform and your ability to articulate, you also want to coalesce in bringing in your ability to accept yourself and love yourself. And because once you actually accept your idiosyncrasies and you really can be comfortable with what's not so great about yourself, is that those two things can meet there in the middle. And the reason why that's good is that what you're going to find is that if you can make these two trajectories coalesce onto each other and converge, is that how that equates to results in the real world is that you are now going to talk to your target audience, not the audience you think you want to have, but the audience you should have. Because we oftentimes, when we get into video marketing, is that we have a sense of who we think we want to work with, who we think we want to attract. And most of the time we're right about that. But I'm willing to bet for most people, your ability to assess that is maybe like a 7 out of 10. And really, you're going to overlook the fact that there are people who are actually going to appreciate you for who you are. So if you can actually find that cross-section of improvement and self-love, that you're going to find that people are going to appreciate you for who you are and what you have to offer the world. And there you're going to build the strongest following you possibly could have.
Man, Wes, you really said a mouthful right there. And it's interesting that you're saying that because I've started something on Instagram where I do #NakedStory. And my goal is actually to share a story every single day, but it's deeper than just business. It's about my life. It's about my journey. And I'm finding that people are resonating with those #naked stories because it's about being transparent. And you're absolutely right. You're not for everybody. I'm not for everybody. You guys out there, you're not for everybody. And when we embrace our flaws, when we embrace the side of us that we cringe at, I think that is our secret sauce. That is our differentiator. And that's what I learned from being on Periscope and live streaming on Facebook, is that aspect right there. Because I'm naturally high energy and everyone can't take that energy. But the people who do gravitated towards it and loved me for it.
And I think you touched on something that's important there, is that when you talked about your experience on Periscope and the dilemma and challenges you faced in making that leap over to like YouTube, for instance, one of the things I'll point out is one, you had an approach of really kind of getting into it, getting feedback from people and learning about the experience and growing from there. And I always tell people that if you're going to go down this route of getting into putting yourself in front of the camera, marketing yourself with video, is that, take it slow, do things periodically. Don't like overtax yourself in terms of expectations, in terms of like highfalutin production value or, really, intensive schedules and posting. Find something that's comfortable. Maybe you do it once a week. Maybe you do it once a month. But dip your toe into the water and start to gather that feedback and identify the platform that you feel best about, because everyone has a favorite social media platform. And the truth is that in this day and age is that these social media platforms have become siloed over the years. And they are now their own ecosystems, right? And to go with the, once again, we're talking about 2020, so we got to be talking about old news, new news. And so, an old way of looking at it would be to say, oh, you got to have this blanket strategy across all your social media. No, you want to vary it. You don't want to be doing the same things everywhere, and nor should you feel compelled to. If you've got a strong Instagram following, focus your energy there, especially if you can convert on a platform and turn those people into customers, or at least you can get them into your sales funnel, then that's where you need to put your focus. And, something like YouTube is the second largest search engine on the internet. And the thing is that when you do keyword searches for anything, videos are going to show up at the top. It's one of the best ways of actually stimulating direction towards your brand is to get videos associated with those keywords. So even though it might be kind of tough, once you get into it and you slowly get into it, allow yourself to take the time to do it. And if you have a favorite platform like Instagram, focus on that while you kind of help fester the growth of YouTube. And if you do it that way, at least you can grow in a way that's comfortable. Because if it's not comfortable in the end of the day and you don't like it, it will not work. Because the thing is, the camera will not lie. Like when you get in front of the camera, it is going to expose who you are. You might eventually end up building up like enough of a critique and get in front of the camera and be like, "Whoa, hello there, it's another episode." That's fine. But most of us are sincere people who just want to be ourselves. And like I said earlier, you want to be that person because that's who you're going to attract in the end, are those people who appreciate that.
And let's rewind and dig in on YouTube really quickly, because you said YouTube is the second largest search engine, probably behind Google, right?
Correct. When,
They're like married to each other.
They are,
anyway.
I know. So it's a little inaccurate of a term, but whatever. They both got different names.
Yeah. So when it comes to YouTube, what I'm finding is that it's a slow crawl, and so many people are like, "Well, why should I focus on YouTube if I'm only getting 5 views or 10 views?" But I tell people it's about the long game, and you put those keywords in there, it's going to, I guess, marinate in the search engine. I don't know the proper term for it, but it's going to marinate in the search engine.
I like that term, actually.
Yeah, and eventually. Exactly. Eventually, your videos, they're going to show up over a longer period of time, right?
Absolutely. And actually, I'm glad you touched on that, because coming back to how you evaluate different platforms for like which ones you should be using for video and why you need to be using YouTube versus the others is because there's a characteristic difference with YouTube versus all the others. So what it is that with YouTube, like with all the other social media, you go ahead, you do an Instagram video, you do Facebook Live, shows up on your feed, you can get a lot of stimulus, and it's sort of like a flash in the pan sort of incident. So, okay, best case scenario, go viral, a lot of people get attention on it, great. Problem is, within a few days, that's sinks to the bottom.
People forget about it.
Exactly, because it's linear based. It's very highly directed around time, and what happens is that you can have very good content that just disappears, and you can optimize to a point how that could show up, but there is not what we call, like, you're familiar with the term like evergreen content.
Yep.
Right? So for those who are not unfamiliar with the concept of evergreen content, it is that content which has legacy value, ongoing value. It is something that, whether it is today or next year, 2021, right around the corner, right?
And maybe you're watching this in 2021.
Yeah, and if you are, it goes to show you that YouTube is relevant because you found us this much further out. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. When you talk about YouTube, then, is that it archives that. It's going to actually then take, you said, marinating those keywords, exactly. A little bit of that hashtag brine,
Mm-hmm.
Put a little little bit of rosemary in there.
Hashtag YouTube brine. I like that.
Okay, let's go ahead and get that one trending, people. Come on. All right. But you're right, though. That is a good term to use, because what happens is that over time is that you're going to build associations with that, and you're going to then over time get more and more interest on that, because as the views build, then of course there's more relevance to that. And there's a little section in YouTube where you can enter those keywords in, and please do fill that out, because YouTube, we're not yet at a place where YouTube can optimize the visuals inside your video. And so if you're creating content, the great thing about that is that over time, people will find that. Whether it's a repair video or an inspirational video, people will find that over time. And I love YouTube. I consume more video on YouTube than I do, like, TV shows, movies. It is
TV.
It is. Well, that's the thing. It's like, once again, let's talk about, how this breaks down, because when you look at, the cord-cutting generation is a term we're mostly familiar with at this point, those who kind of gave up cable TV and mostly focused on online and streaming. Really, it's even gotten more it's gotten more granular from there, even, because now when you look at, like, I'm a millennial myself, and I'm sure you are too, but the idea is that this next generation coming up, they don't even consume the traditional media. They are really into a lot of the homegrown media that people are generating out of their bedrooms. There is so much of that happening, and that is just something that you got to keep in mind, because as time goes on, you need to speak to that audience as they get older and they become the buying demographic, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, so it's you got to think in future tense there. But that's why I find it so fascinating about all of this. It's constantly evolving, constantly changing. And that's why for myself I focus my business on being able to not just do video production, but video strategy. Because one of the things I find that's a big gap in the market are people who are out there to be able to make sense of all of this. It's a big jungle out there, and a lot of businesses and entrepreneurs and nonprofit organizations I work with are usually scratching their head about, what do I do here? I think I've got some ideas of what I want to do, but I'm not quite sure how to access it. So it's good to educate yourself as you get into this, just to make sure that you're doing it in a way that works best for you.
You said a mouthful, and I love the value that you're giving us right now. And if people want to reach you or work with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Please feel free to connect with me on social media. I love to connect with new people, and business or otherwise. It's just great. So you can find me at my name, Weston Trussell, on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I'm sure I'm going to add a few others before the night's over. But the idea being is that you can reach me anywhere, and I just love to have a conversation and just love to connect with new people.
Let's give Weston a round of applause. Show the world you're a Maverick on the Move by grabbing your signature merch from our online store. Visit mavericksonthemove.com/shop to securely place your order. Worldwide shipping is available.
I have a very out-of-the-box concept, and I have to educate people. But what would you suggest is the way to go about teaching people about the concepts that people want people to understand or be educated on? Like, for instance, in my case, wellness, wealth, building community, those kind of things. How does video play a role in that?
Yeah, and I think, with what you're doing with your business, and then, sort of what you try to do as a person in terms of help others, is actually, for me, a cool concept. Because one of the things I find that's fun about my job and also challenging, and both of those things are good, is that I have people who come at me with unique business models, out-of-the-box thinking, right? Those are some of the funnest projects to work on, and they're also some of the most challenging, because when you have to market something that's an unknown quantity, you have to define it for people. So, with you, and the pleasure about learning from you is that you and I have had great discussions sitting down and being able to talk at length about these things. And so with video, one of the great things it can do is that it allows you to be able to replicate what you know is a good experience for people, which is your ability to have a conversation with them and create an analog in the digital realm. So taking a video that has you talking about these same ideas that we've had conversations about really allows you to articulate not just the words that you're saying, but also what you're exuding in terms of your energy as you're saying that. Because, listen, I could transcribe something that you say and I could put it on to a blog or something or a sales page, but it's not going to jump out at me. It's not going to be something that's going to really capture that essence that you have. And again, coming back to my earlier point about how we sell what we do because it's who we are that people value. Part of that explanation for you is being able to just have that charisma come through in video form. And of course, from there, when you talk about content specifics, it's really about taking, for instance, a topic on community and having that as a concise video in which you just focus on talking about that. And, you just have an opportunity to have a candid conversation that you could talk a little bit about it, put it out there. And when you do the video, is incorporate call to actions, something that inspires people to leave a comment, ask a question. That's a very good one. So that you can then, once again, have a conversation with them. You don't want this, as much as video sounds like it's a unilateral process, me talking to you, it's actually should be bilateral. And you need to incorporate the bilateral component and bring it back towards you in terms of their interest and engagement. So if you could talk about everything from community, nutrition, and then anything else that you want to add to that, break it out to a deeper level. Break those out into individual videos, be yourself, and just let yourself be you. And from there, if you could just stimulate the questions and interests, you're going to find that people are going to start to respond to that. And it's going to be something that's going to allow you to be able to capture that character that you're already so good at doing in real life.
Next, we're choosing one lucky guest to spotlight on today's show. Who's it going to be? Stay tuned. If you're searching for a keynote speaker, panelist, workshop presenter, or host able to electrify audiences, Jamilah is the industry maverick you've been looking for. Visit JamilahCorbitt.com to learn more. Welcome back. This season, we're mixing some things up on the show and experimenting with different ways to share our platform with you. One of those ideas is to have an audience spotlight segment where I choose a member in the audience to interview right here on stage. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, make sure you join us for a live taping. Today's spotlight is a woman who's owned her business for 20 plus years. Please help me welcome to the stage, Tenecia Brown. Hey, Tenecia.
Hey, how are you?
I'm so excited to have you right here on the stage.
Thank you.
It's an honor and a pleasure. And you smell so good.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So from my understanding, your background is actually in chemistry and your business is Oracle Oils.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Can you walk us through the journey of chemical engineer to business owner?
So that wasn't the end goal. the making fragrances was truly a inspiration that was created based upon necessity is the mother of invention. So there was a need for me to have all these great fragrances and not spend a fortune in the department store. So I remembered that perfumes and fragrances was chemistry. And I had an aha moment and pulled my chemistry books off the shelf from undergrad and grad school and started looking at the aromatic chemistry area and studying and researching the fragrance business, and said, hey, I think I can do this. And the inspiration, as well as being a chemist, was my mom she's 84 years old. She's an amazing woman. She is this dynamic, beautiful, Hollywood-type black woman who always looked and smelled amazing and had a vanity full of that old toxic perfume back in the day. And just that imagery and those wonderful fragrance memories really help merge the two together to say, hey, I want to keep that going and I can do this myself.
Now, walk us through your process for securing new clients and creating those fragrances, especially for them.
So the process of securing new clients is literally an instantaneous, organic moment. It's not traditional websites and social media. It's literally, I walk into a room and someone says, or I'm on public transportation, or I'm at work, and someone says, who smells that good, or who is smelling that amazing? And so I'm literally a walking marketing individual, and it's not intentional. It's just fragrances that I like and that I've made and that I wear. And then that begins a conversation in terms of, do you sell them? Where can I get them? Do you have a website? I want to buy those fragrances. I've met other individuals who are in certain industries and arenas that want to create a fragrance for their brand. There may be fashion designers or jewelry designers, different artists, so they want to add a different product to their suite of different ideas. So based upon that collaboration, that designer may say, I want a fragrance that smells earthy or citrus or has this kind of energy, and we'll just communicate and collaborate, and then I'll get a visual of the ingredients, and then I'll pull some ingredients and I'll make samples, and it's just a trial and error process of creating a fragrance for that particular client. Oracle has a stock set of fragrances that I've just made based upon my own personal preference, and that's just from a personal creative process. So it's literally organic, and it's intentional, and it's an energy exchange from the aromatic and just sensual kind of standpoint.
And it sounds like your business is word of mouth based upon what you just said. So I'm sure you have a lot of repeat customers, and then they refer their friends and family to you too, right?
Yes, absolutely. So 20 years. So 1999, 2000, literally I was at home in my kitchen and started the process. And then it traveled, or different coworkers liked it. And then, of course, they may have had family members or friends who said, I love the way you smell, and then they give them my information, or different friends in different environments, be it work or socialization, would actually ask me, what am I wearing? And, normally they would expect me to say some major brand like Gucci or Tom Ford or Ralph Lauren, but then when I started the discussion, like, this is actually a personally created fragrance, then that was very interesting to them. And so it's literally word of mouth. It's through associations, it's through collaborations, it's just literally just moving through the world and making connections from that standpoint.
Now, how can people purchase a fragrance from you and find out what fragrances work for them?
So you can reach me on Instagram at tbrown the Oracle, and I was telling Tasha, I don't do as much social media marketing as I should, because the demand, everything is custom made to order. So there are no fragrances sitting anywhere. It's literally, you tell me that you want one of my stock fragrances, or you want me to create a fragrance for you, and I have to actually go pull the ingredients and break them down and do all the purification and testing and building and things of that nature. So you can reach me, either DM me at T Brown the Oracle, or you can reach me at oracleoilsllc@gmail.com. And we can start with the exchange of your name and your number, and I usually send out samples so you can get an idea of what I create, and then we'll go into sizes and prices and things of that nature. And if you want a custom fragrance, so say you may like a commercial fragrance by Jean-Paul Gaultier, or Jessica whoever, or Jennifer Lopez, or something of that nature, and I can pretty much build a profile from a fragrance that you already like, because people know what they like and they know what they don't like. So it's important that I know what you don't like as well as what you like. So it's a really cool collaborative relationship, connection kind of exchange.
You really do smell good. Every time you move, your wind is just blowing in my direction. It just smells so delicious.
Thank you.
Let's give Tenecia another round of applause.
Thank you.
To advertise a product or service on the show, visit mavericksonthemove.com/partner. And that's today's show. Thank you so much for watching. If you're catching this on YouTube, don't forget to give this a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it out. Remember, do everything on purpose and with purpose. See you next time. We're ready. Tell me when to go. Welcome back. This season, we're mixing some things up on the show. Your face, right? Your face is hilarious.
You're hilarious.
Okay, come on.
Great. This guy. Mavericks on the Move was amazing, and I love this format of the show, and Jamilah is such a great storyteller and interviewer, and I was captivated, and I can't wait to come back and see the next one.
Mavericks on the Move was a great show. I really enjoyed Jamilah. She's a great host, and I really encourage you to join the next show.